Hello, beautiful. Alright, this moment of baby blue. Dissect this ensemble for the butterfly and me. Alright, so for Tori Spelling, everything changed in 2018 after she received a 911 call. When the police arrived, they discovered her and her 5 kids in the house having a total collapse. However, this was only the start of her startling revelations. At 52, she disclosed how she had virtually nothing left over from her father's $600 million empire, how her marriage turned into a public humiliation nightmare, how she moved from a mansion that was 56,000 square feet to a hotel. The most tragic aspect was that her teenage daughter was the one who ultimately told her to go. A Hollywood princess who lost everything is the subject of this tale. On May 16, 1973, Tori Spelling was born into a life that few could have predicted. Aaron Spelling, her father, was already establishing a television conglomerate that would eventually be worth $600 million. Candy, her mother, aspired to be a theater star and worked hard to rise in society. Tori's grandfather gave her the middle name Davy, which respected the family's Jewish heritage. But even with all the comforts, she would not have a tranquil childhood. Tori only received $800,000 from Aaron's inheritance by the time of his death in 2006, which was a tiny portion of what most people had anticipated. Tori's parents purchased a piece of land that had once belonged to Bing Crosby when she was 12 years old. Candy, who loved Crosby, did not keep the house intact. She destroyed it. They constructed the manor, the biggest private home in Los Angeles County, in its stead. The project took 6 years to complete. When Tori finally moved in at the age of 17, she entered a mansion that was 56,000 square feet and had about 125 rooms, a bowling alley, arcade, salon, gym, bar, and even a doll museum with personalized dolls of her and her mother were all located in the basement alone. Tori never felt at home in the house, even though the servants had a separate wing on the second level. She subsequently stated that the mansion was actually her mother's idea and that her father liked tiny, comfortable spaces. Tori went to Westlake School for Girls, which is renowned for training the finest of Hollywood. Her acting career, however, began even earlier. Aaron engaged a private acting coach when he was 6 years old. She had an appearance on her debut show, Vega, when she was 8 years old. She then continued to land parts on the television series her father produced, including Fantasy Island, The Love Boat, T.J. Hooker, and Hotel. These were no coincidences. She had a minor part in practically everything Aaron created. She was cast as Donna Martin in Beverly Hills 90,210 by the age of 17. Fame and wealth weren't the only factors that influenced her upbringing. Violent conflict with her younger brother Randy was another defining feature. Despite being raised in a mansion with full-time staff and security, he was born in 1978. Like they were brought up in anarchy, the two siblings frequently quarreled. During a disagreement, Tori acknowledged in a 2024 podcast that she had attempted to stab Randy with a letter opener. She added that she had once used a rock to threaten him. Randy said that when she was upset, she had the ability to quickly transform into someone else. The strain to live up to her father's name became intolerable as she grew older. According to Tori, she never felt the connection to the affluence that was all around her. She experienced severe problems with self-worth, despite having private tutors and support. She was often wondering if she had to work for her success or if it came naturally to her. Her mother's fixation with appearance simply served to raise the already extremely high expectations. Tori would experience severe financial difficulties in later life. She once claimed that even though she made an effort to live a simpler life, growing up wealthy prevented her from understanding how to handle money. She was unable to give up her costly habits. She eventually ended up living in RVs and trailer parks. A startling fall for a person who grew up in unthinkable wealth. Her acting career proceeded in peculiar and intricate ways. She was just 14 years old when she portrayed Violet Bickerstaff on Saved by the Bell. Throughout the audition, Tori revealed that the character had a distinctive snort, was shy, and was geeky. Fans adored it. Despite the brief appearance, it turned out to be her first kiss with Dustin Diamond's character, Screech, on television. During that period, she even went on her first actual date with Mario Lopez. People recognized Violet even though she didn't make a comeback for the relaunch. That brief job demonstrated her aptitude, not just her connections. For such performance, she actually received a Young Artist Prize in 1991. Growing up, Tori Spelling was surrounded by TV scripts, cameras, and gossip columns. However, it was more than simply her popularity or fortune that made her childhood so unique. It was the age at which she had to begin concealing her identity. She didn't use her true last name when she tried out for Beverly Hills 90,210. Didn't want her identity as Aaron Spelling's daughter to be known. Nevertheless, she was cast as Donna Martin. She would become well known for that role. Additionally, it would accompany her for the remainder of her life. She portrayed a kind, naive teenager with strict parents and high morals from 1992. 2000. She became a symbol, since she chose to remain a virgin on the show, following a prom scandal that almost led to her expulsion from school. Fans united around the tagline, "Donna Martin graduates." Both Donna and the word became ingrained in popular culture, but there was a price for that fame. She was thinking about more than just celebrity by the time she penned her autobiography in 2008. She was explaining the damage. Her true self had been supplanted by that vivacious, innocent persona. She was perceived as ditzy. She felt stuck, even in her personal relationships. During private moments, her ex-husband referred to her as Donna. She later said that it gave her the chills. She lost her identity. She characterized herself as someone who was always seeking approval and was unable to create her own beliefs. She was constrained by that one job, which was supposed to be a career high point. It influenced how people perceived her. Even worse, it influenced her self-perception. Tori had her own adolescent romance on set in real life. She was more than just co-star with Brian Austin Green. In 1990 and 1991, they went on dates. A dramatic scene at Disneyland where Green booked up a section of the park for the actors marked the end of their romance. Tori informed him that she would never want to see him again. Still, he gave her a kiss. After that, there was silence for 18 years. The tension reappeared when they got back together in 2024 for a podcast. Tori had a clear memory of their first encounter. Brian claimed he couldn't even remember it. The gap between them was encapsulated in that one sentence. They had previously pledged to always be close and even go on trips together. However, Tori didn't talk to Brian at all when she and her husband, Dean McDermott, entered a 90,210 DVD event. Though intensity doesn't always last, he later said that their connection had always been stronger than usual. Additionally, friendships did not endure the spotlight. Tori had been best friends with Shannon Doherty, but they broke up over a single affair. She later described the abusive person Tori was dating as violent and addicted. She received an ultimatum from Shannon while traveling to Mexico. She would either end their relationship or take issues into her own hands. Tori declined. Shannon was deceived. Things started to go south after that. They were unable to even recall the termination of their friendship. It simply dimmed. They worked past the hurt on Shannon's podcast years later. The fact that Tori never advocated for herself annoyed Shannon, never made a firm decision. That quiet ended up being the thing that separated them. And for years, there was stillness. However, she wasn't always delicate or soft in her roles. Following Donna, she portrayed a victim in a 1994 television film that was based on an actual murder case. She portrayed popular teenager Stacy Lockwood in A Friend to Die For, who was murdered by a jealous classmate. It was a significant change from Donna. Although viewers initially felt sorry for her, their compassion gradually faded because of how cruel her persona was. The critics were taken aback. They felt she displayed a deeper, more nuanced side and did a fantastic job on stage. It was more than just a part. It demonstrated that she was capable of more than just playing sweet. However, even that achievement wasn't without its detractors. She attempted to switch to independent films once 902,210 concluded. However, The House of Yes, her first significant endeavor, lost over 60% of its $1.5 million budget. It only made $626.57 at the box office. Trick, her second project, earned little over $2 million at a cost of $450,000. That victory was regarded as small. It wasn't enough, though, to propel her into actual movie stardom. She was unable to be separated from Donna by the audience, and that shadow followed her into each theater. She returned to television since movies weren't working out. This time, in television, films. In the years 1994 to 1996, she was everywhere. She starred in films such as Mother, May I Sleep with Danger, Co-Ed Call, and Awake to Danger. She was dubbed Queen of Television Movies by the industry. It was half insult and half adulation. As she worked tirelessly, these roles typically depicted her in peril, running, sobbing, and being saved. She wasn't pioneering anything. She was caught up in a loop of exaggeration that limited her creativity and made her popular. Downtown debuted on the WB in 2003 after she made another attempt at a sitcom. The scores for her role as a fashion designer were appalling. The network didn't even bother to broadcast every episode through to the end. Her attempt at humor in prime time was unsuccessful. Sitcoms were going extinct. The popularity of reality shows was rising, and Tori's professional path would have to follow suit. She abruptly jumped into children's animation, which nobody saw coming. She began providing the voice of the pirate princess in Disney Junior's Jake and the Neverland Pirates in 2011. Prior to being saved by Jake's crew, the character had been imprisoned and cursed. Although it was very different from tabloid controversies, the spotlight had its boundaries. Even in this case, she didn't sing. Disney did that by using a different voice. Nevertheless, this position kept her employed, which was crucial as her financial situation deteriorated. She had an appearance in Scary Movie 2 in 2001. It might have been a significant break, but mayhem reigned behind the scenes. although her father had urged her to do it, believing it would advance her career. The planned naked scene was later canceled. Filming was frequently canceled by the directors once the actors had applied makeup. On set, scripts were revised. The majority of her scenes were eliminated in spite of her best attempts. She felt taken advantage of as a result. They cut her out even though she gave it her all. Next came reality television. She starred in the program So Notorious in 2006, which made fun of her own life. VH1 took it up after NBC rejected it. She portrayed herself with a snarky dog, a privileged mother, and quirky friends. Although it was well received by critics, it only ran for 10 episodes. Nevertheless, it provided her with something that no other role did: authority over her narrative. She laughed at herself before anyone else did. For once, she and Dean started Home Sweet Hollywood in the same year. On a bed and breakfast in Frucock, they bet everything, even the $800,000 she inherited from her father's $600 million estate. However, it was eventually disclosed that they had not truly purchased the home. They rented it. From the beginning, the entire company was unstable. Tori made the audacious decision to perform a gay wedding live in order to garner more publicity. The program shattered Oxygen records and drew in 1.4 million viewers. Writing books wasn't all that Tori Spelling did. She allowed the public to enter her private life through all of the broken hallways. Her first memoir was published in 2008. People couldn't stop reading it, and it was called Storytelling. It reached the top of the New York Times bestseller list by September and remained there for 14 weeks. The following year, it even took home Bravo's A-List award for Outstanding Celebrity Autobiography. The book didn't mince words. She wrote of how Aaron Spelling, her father, lavished her with extravagant birthday celebrations that cost more than most people's annual income. However, she also spoke of a nose job, a failed marriage, the anguish of feeling hated by her mother, and how she only had $800,000 left over from her father's estimated $500 million inheritance. Readers were astounded by that figure alone. She didn't hesitate to acknowledge that speaking the truth could damage her relationships, and it did. She continued to write, nevertheless. Her second book, Mommywood, was published in 2009. This woman embraced her new job as a mother. In addition to discussing her first C-section and the turmoil of raising little children, it also disclosed upsetting details about her family that further strained their relationship. At about the same time, her mother, Candy, claimed in an open letter that she had never even laid eyes on Tori's 2008-born daughter, Stella. The conflict continued after that. Candy blamed Tori for her father's death on the radio. That same year she claimed that following Tori's breakup with the family, he passed away from heartbreak. That interview was scheduled for a reason. It took place immediately following the release of Mama Wood. Despite the popularity of her works, Tori felt even more alone as a result. By 2013, the situation had deteriorated. In Spelling It Like It Is, her third memoir, Tori disclosed that she was penniless, broken, not struggling. She had lost money selling houses, as did her husband, Dean McDermott. Their $3 million on Eno home didn't sell for a profit. The price of their Malibu property was $200,000 less than what they paid. Their Oxygen reality program was canceled. Additionally, their company manager had to inform Dean that they couldn't afford a vasectomy when he requested one. She acknowledged that she overspent, particularly on clothing, toys, crafts, and the kids. She was unable to stop. She was hospitalized for 10 weeks during her fourth pregnancy.